Hello, and welcome to Amari's Cozy Corner. Today I'm going to be talking about Once Again Always by Amanda Gayle. This book is a second chance romance about a woman named Molly who loses her memory of the last 6 years and wakes up to a husband that, from her memory, she despises. They were rivals all throughout school. He was really mean to her. She was not nice to him either. And it just kind of blows her mind that like this would be who she's married to. I gave this book 3 stars. I felt like I was really, really excited to read a second chance romance. Like I specifically had sought one out that seemed like it would be good. And I did like this one. I had a hard time reading it, I think, just because like so many of the chapters were very, very long, and it was hard to kind of break up the story into like it was hard to break up the story into more into smaller sittings. It was hard for me to read this in between doing something, or like, oh, I have some time, I'll read a little bit. It was more, I really had to like set aside a lot of time to like get through a full chapter because they were pretty long. Um, but and I think that like another, small complaints I had about it was that like the main characters, Molly and Aster, I think are developed characters. I think that, they have their flaws, they have their personalities and their likes, dislikes, things they, understand about what is going on. But a lot of the side characters, like as there's so many side characters because it's just their group of friends that is slowly being introduced to her over time because she's forgotten most of them because she met them in the last 6 years. And so as it kind of spreads out and you get to know more of her friends, it feels like they have less and less personality. Like they have like, their character trait, and that is just who they are. That is all there is for that character. And I'm sure that there's more, but we just don't get to see it because there's so few scenes by the end of the book where all of the friend group is actually together because I don't know, it somehow got dictated by Aster throughout the book who gets to, meet her and reintroduce themselves and who doesn't. And it's a little weird in that aspect as well. I did find that he was like pretty controlling over the whole thing. He, is looking out for her best interest and trying not to overwhelm her with information, but I felt frustrated throughout the whole book because she's asking like very valid questions. She's just asking like, okay, well, like, what did I do for work? Or like, what did I do for fun? Or like, what's going on? And no one would give her answers until like later. So everything just felt kind of a little dragged out because of that, because she's wants to know. She's trying to do her own research and figure it out, but she doesn't really know where to start. And so like everything just kind of feels dragged out. And then there's also these chapters in between each chapter that go back to before they were married and before they even like liked each other. It's just them being rivals in school. And they're short chapters, but I felt like they were really pointless. Like there was no use in having them because all of the stories that they talk about or that they tell in those background chapters, they talk about in the actual chapters. And so it just felt really repetitive. The only exception to that being the last chapter, where we get the before chapter from Aster's point of view. I thought that was cute. I liked that one. But outside of that, everything just felt like it was being delayed and pushed back, and it was a little bit frustrating to read because of that. Um, and then like you know, it builds up to like a little bit of a climax. Like there's the slightest little bump in the road, I think, and it gets so much more exciting out of nowhere. but it explains her memory loss and gives a better reason than it did in the beginning, which I was grateful for because I was like, I don't believe that, but sure. Um, but yeah, overall, I gave this book 3 stars. As you can tell, I do have a little bit of not beef with it, but I didn't love it. I didn't love like the fact that so much of it was just her being a step behind and re-meeting people. And like there, I don't know, because at points people in the book are telling her like, "Oh, you're my best friend. We do this together." Like, and there's just like no chemistry there. Like, there's no chemistry whatsoever. Like, and maybe that'll build back up over time. You know, she's just lost her memory, so maybe she just needs time to like reestablish these relationships. But she seems like an open person and an open character, and it feels like, she would try to put effort into these relationships uh around her, and it just feels like she like doesn't. She just kind of lets things happen to her that like other people kind of pull her forward throughout the book. She herself, the main character, Molly, doesn't. She has her motivations, but the actual moving forward of the book is done by the people around her, if that makes sense. Anyway, I don't know if I would recommend this book. If you like second chance romance and are like really forgiving in that genre, then I think maybe it would be a good book. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it's something that I would read again. And this I did get a ARC copy from Nat Galley. So this book does come out October 6th. So it's not quite out yet. And I haven't read any of the authors of other books. But if you have and you think maybe like there's a better fit, definitely let me know. And I'll give it a try. All right, thanks.